Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and boy, has it been an unusual week. It seems everybody wants to help. Well, they want to help me get started on servicing their reels by taking them apart. And that's kind of what we have here. We have a reel in a bag project. This one is a Penn Squidder. And, well, we're going to just see if we can't service this one and put it back together again. I'm only hopeful that all of the pieces and parts, as usual, are here. And it kind of looks like it is. And then it looks like we have some upgrades as well. So we'll see what we can do with these. Looks like I have a twofer here. This coloration on this side plate and this side plate is different. So my guess on this one is that somebody has upgraded this along the way, probably had a broken side plate, and replaced it with this one. Nonetheless, we'll try and make it right for them. We have a side plate here that needs a bearing. We have our spool, and we have the back end of this. And generally, I like to try and clean these up a little bit too. But I'm going to stop the video for a moment. I'm going to use some cleaner. I'm going to use Flitz, F-L-I-T-Z. It's a metal pre-wash. It should take a lot of this kind of discoloration and residual greases and the like off of that. And then we'll be right back. Okay, so we have the cleanup. Put a little bit more shine into it, and you can actually use a metal polish, get a little bit more. I'm noticing on this side that we have a cap with the bearing. I also notice we have an empty cap here. He did include one bearing in here, but the gear side bearing is missing, so I'm going to assume I just need the bearing here. These two are the press washers for the cap, so it looks like those are, well, extras, I guess. I'm not quite sure what. Let's do a quick little cleanup on this, and we'll get started in terms of putting this back together. So when you're servicing a reel, you want to make sure that you clean the reel of all the old greases and debris. That'll only serve to be troublesome if you don't. And this is a good place to show you how to do it with a cotton swab and other cleaning agents. Well, while I'm doing this, I want to thank everybody who's subscribed to my channel and ask you, if you haven't subscribed, to please go ahead and do that, particularly if you like the art of fishing reel repair. But if you like to see how fishing reels are made, how they come together, and how they're serviced, well, this is the channel for you. All right, well, I got that bearing and I got the side plate in my hand, so we might as well go ahead and put that in. And that just gets pushed to the back of the assembly, just like that. This one's relatively simple. People ask me, how do you get that bearing out? Well, somebody got it out here. But typically you want to find a curled pick. This one is just one I got off of Harbor Freight. And if you work it, in that case that one's a little too tight. Here's a squared angle pick. You want to go in there and you can just pull that out. And that's the easiest way to get those out. They do make bearing pullers. Here's a big version of one. This would be for a large bearing, but you can notice that they have a little cup on the end. You would compress this down, insert it into the hole of the bearing, let it expand. Sometimes you'd have to drive a wedge in here to keep it tight on the outside, but let it expand to the point where these two lips come behind the bearing, and then you pull up that way. So in case anybody was wondering. All right, well, the bearing is in, and now we're going to kind of go do our regular hunt here. I'm a little bit confused by all of the stuff that's in here because it looks like there's more than one. And I don't know if that's intended for the other reel that's in the box or what. But I only have one bridge and one assembly, a bunch of some other stuff here. So we're going to just kind of try and figure this out, play along with him. This looks like some kind of a slide adjustable for a kind of an aftermarket handle. That's kind of fun. And we'll just see how we can make that work. All right, I'm going to start with the bridge. The bridge needs to be cleaned. You saw the curved pieces that I used for the bearing puller. Well, this one's a straight one, and we want to push the pin that holds the gear sleeve on. We want to push that out from the other side. Typically you're going to need a little pliers just to pull it that extra little bit of the way, and then you can remove the gear sleeve. I like to take that pin and put it right back in there to start so I don't lose it. Once you have the gear sleeve off, you want to clean all the old greases off of there. It's interesting, a lot of times these reels fail because the greases that are in here don't get cleaned off. They get jammed in this little indentation here, which is actually where the pin is going to ride. You can see that pin sets up right there. And sometimes the gear sleeve will freeze or the reel will bog down terribly because of that. New grease, put the sleeve back on, push the pin in, and that bridge is serviced. We're going to just take a little bit of steel wool to buff off some of the tarnish on this. Alright, next up we're going to try and find the assembly. And again, I'm a little bit confused by all the stuff that's in here. I'm going to assume maybe they want that on the other reel. They gave me 2 squidders. So let's go ahead and do the one here with the parts that are in the tray. One of the things is that I did not get a note with this. It's kind of hard from time to time to guess what the other folks are thinking. But this does have the Carbon-Tex washers, and I'm looking for the small washer right now. This has an added washer, which is kind of cool. You can increase the drag strength. This is normally a 6 washer set. They moved it out to a 10 washer set. We have the back washer on here. That's actually what I was looking for. Sometimes in the new sets they will give you the back washer as well. Here's our gear stack. We want to remove the washers that are in here. And this is what I was saying about the 6 stack. You have 3 fabric and 3 metal in this stack. So this is going to be replaced by Carbon-Tex washers. We want to make sure that the main gear is clean. I'm just going to run. I don't want to assume anything with this reel. That's why I took the gear shaft off or sleeve off. And we found out, sure enough, it wasn't cleaned underneath. So we don't want to assume anything here. Clean all of that. Make sure it's free of debris. And then go ahead and grease this. Now how can you put 10 washers where there were 6? Well, the answer is it's much thinner. And I'm not sure if this is a Brian Young upgrade or not. Brian Young does make an upgrade for the 6.0, and it's based on the same premise. If you look at the width of this, it's almost paper thin, but it's Carbon-Tex, so it's not going to tear. And the metal washers are much thinner than the originals that came with this. That all adds to increased max drag because you have more surface area. There's 3 keyed washers and there's 2 eared washers, so we're going to start with a keyed. Slide that down. These are Carbon-Tex. They do not require grease. If you do want to grease them, you can put a light coat on and wipe it off. That's all it's recommended for that. The next washer after the eared washer, so this is our 3rd. That gets a keyed washer, no ears. Here's our 4th. And that gets an eared washer. See how that all fits right in the stack there. And we have the last of the washers. And we have the 3rd keyed washer. So we started with a keyed washer and alternated. And then we have cap washer which goes on top. That's your rebuilt, renewed drag stack for the Penn Squidder. Alright, some of these parts I'm a little bit curious on, so we're just going to kind of do the best that we can do here. We're going to take our yoke now and clean that off. I'm using some 4.0 steel wool to get rid of all the old greases. We polish it. We want our pinion gear. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to inspect the teeth. These are all clean. We're going to take our fishing reel grease. I use Penn Precision Reel Grease for this. Both sides of the yoke. That goes in the slot on the pinion gear. And then we're going to do the same on the back here. So I asked if that was a Brian Young, and yeah, it's a Brian Young. How do you like that? I passed the test without even knowing it. This is the ultimate upgrade by Brian Young. And if you want to increase the max drag in some of your Penn reels, those upgrades are available, as you just saw. All right, we're looking for the other one of the springs now. I imagine it's in here somewhere. Here it is. Good imagining. Before I go any further, I'm going to put oil onto that bearing back there. I'm just going to let it soak in. New bearing. Let's make sure it's oiled well. We take our yoke and our pinion gear, sometimes called the spool gear. We're going to press down on that. Probably should have cleaned this off before I did that. Press down, bring your eccentric up, and put the jack on. So that's how this portion of the assembly works. We already did the bridge, that upgrade. So now locate your 4 bridge screws. Those are the longer screws. Actually, in this assembly, there's only one other screw, which is the set screw for the handle. This is a single-sided screw take-apart. Okay, we've greased the main gear. We want to load the bridge, and we want to load the anti-reverse dog. We're going to place pressure on that yoke assembly. We're going to insert the gearing. We're going to turn the bridge halfway. Find one of the fully threaded screws that goes in the hole that opposes you. And now the Squidder and the dog setup is a little bit different. It has the dog and it has the spring inside the cavity of the dog. So that loads like that, and then you pull down on the spring. And once that spring is loaded, you can see how compressed that is right off my fingernail there, right there. Then you want to swing the bridge around, center the hole onto the bridge, and give that a couple of turns. And before you go much further, because these springs have a tendency to jump, just test to make sure you do have the anti-reverse. We do. Now this has a lever on it that can be an anti-reverse override, so make sure that you have the lever set properly to on for the anti-reverse. Alright, well, I'm going to leave these loose because you need a little bit of play as you install the rest of this into the bridging. Just be patient, and while I'm doing that, it's a good time to tell you that if you have a question, maybe about this fishing reel or something in particular, if you ask the question, I will try and get you an answer. Maybe you want to know why you would use this anti-reverse override on this reel. And if I don't know the answer, I'll try and point you in the right direction. For example, I don't know where you can get those bearing pullers. So I'll try and do some work to tell you. All right, so we've just tightened down the top 2. We're going to tighten down the bottom 2. I'm going to give it a test again to make sure that it's working. It is. And the reverse is on. This is the override. You can see on and off. On the off, you don't have an anti-reverse. Come on back and make sure you have it. All right, I'm looking for the ferrule, but before I do that, I'm going to use a little bit of cleaner to get the grease off. I'm going to use a Penn rod and reel cleaner. Works on all kinds of rods and reels, doesn't just work on pens. This is a pen, so I would expect it would work here. But it's going to get rid of all the residual greases. It's a little bit of a cleaner and a wax. Shines it up. Now, it will temporarily improve the looks of UV damaged reels, but it's not going to be a permanent fix for that. I just like it because it kind of puts the accent on it. There's a little bit of grease hanging under this little thing here. I want to get that out too. All right, so that's how you build the bridge side. And just finish this. There's that gear sleeve spacer. And we have the star adjuster, and this has got a lot of old grease on it, so we'll take care of that. Grease sweeps out and evaporates. That's how it winds up on this stuff. Do the same thing here. You'll notice that they have an indent in this one. Some of the older Penn reels have that. You can see that there's a track here. I'm going to clean that out. What that's going to do is it's going to enhance protection against water, because it's going to kind of seal off that one side there. All right, now we got a funky little handle going. So I think the next thing we want to do is test for the reel itself. We're going to clean up the back end and the shaft side. We're going to put a little bit of grease onto the spoke on both sides. That's because you want to lubricate the inner race here. I'm not sure if I put any oil in this one, so let's go ahead and put some oil in that. I'm using fishing reel oil. Again, fishing reel oils and greases only, please. Seat the spool. We want to do the same thing here. When you go to seat this, make sure that you're in the free spool mode from your eccentric. It's easier to do it that way. Load that up, and then it's just a small turn. You want to make sure that you line your screw with the hole in the case for mounting. And then it looks like I have a bracket here. It looks like it's an alternate mounting for a aftermarket handle. I've never seen this handle before. So I'm going to use this bracket first to tighten down that star adjuster. This is a good time to spin the reel, make sure that it's working. Oh, we got that. There you go. It spins nicely. All right, new bearing. New additional washer set. Everything seems good there. And the washers are holding. Let's go ahead and put this bracket on then. I'll take our handle screw. Now if we didn't take that gear sleeve off, you could oil through this port here. That's why the screw says oil on it. If you didn't remove it, then go ahead and oil. But we did that. Okay. Just going to tighten this down now. So there's been a lot of interesting little additions to this reel. Aftermarket. There was one made by, I think it was called Reel-O-Matic, which increased the speed of the reel. I have one of them around here somewhere. This is the first one I've seen with this handle. So you want to lock down the handle screw here, just like you would on a regular handle. And then insert this slide bar over the top. And then we have a thumb screw. I'm guessing. I haven't seen it. The thumb screw's going to grab in here, just like that. So that looks like, well, about as much of a leveraged handle as you're going to get on this. And I guess if you want to back it down and use it at a smaller degree, it kind of goes like that. Pretty cool. Well, that's it. Willie sent this one in. I hope Willie enjoyed the video. Got a nice casting one. You want to make sure that you take up the slack on the spool. So let's bring that back in. Nice operating reel with the Brian Young Ultimate Upgrade going to a 10 washer rather than a 6 washer set. So to those that are first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do. To everybody, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.